طيب بسم الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم يغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We covered the first two issues in regards to those who deviated in the aspect of Kalam. And I didn't go too much in detail as far as all the evidences and proofs. For example, the Kalam, or the era in which the Asha'ira and the Kullabiyya and the Maturidiyya and also the Ahbash from the followers of Abdullah al-Habashi all fell into deviance in regards to the affirmation of the speech of Allah. We said that they left off the affirmation of it being sifatu fi'l, that is a characteristic of Allah's action. All of them followed their sheikh in that, goes back to originally back to Abdullah ibn Sa'id al-Kullab. Abdullah ibn Sa'id al-Kullab al-Basri, who died, I think, approximately maybe 250 of the Hijrah, if I'm not mistaken. For Abdullah ibn Sa'id al-Kullab was the initial one who came with this ideology that it is not, the speech of Allah is not connected with His Mashi'ah. That the speech of Allah is not connected with His will, nor is it connected with His Qudrah, with His ability, subhanahu wa ta'ala. We said that's in contrast to the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah. The Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila, even though they all agree unanimously, all those deviant sects all say the Quran is makhluq. Whether they be the Jahmiyyah, whether they be the Mu'tazila, whether they be the Asha'ira, the Maturidiyya. The Asha'ira affirm that the Quran is makhluq. But as far as in their usool, it's slightly different, but all of it ends up at the same natija, the same equation, or what comes out, the equation is the same answer for them. Now, all of them say the Quran is makhluq. But the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah, like we said, they affirmed the Mashi'ah. They affirmed the Qudrah. They did. However, they say that which is the maf'ul, or the kalam, is makhluq. That's the opposite of the Asha'ira and the Kullabiyya. They affirmed that the kalam is the speech of Allah that's qa'imatun bidhati. It's connected with His essence. But they deny what? It being a fi'l. Being that the case, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, we said yesterday and covered their errors, and we gathered it and summarized it in 4 points. The first point, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, was connected based upon what we just laid down, is where their mistakes emanated from. We said that the Kullabiyya, the Asha'ira, even though we said the Asha'ira of today is upon the Aqidah of Abdullah ibn Sa'id al-Kullab, except that we know that Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari made tawbah, in which he refuted those who are still his followers. And he also made tawbah on the minbar, or his tawbah was clear as the sun in the sky. Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari made tawbah, and his tawbah was clear. And if you look inside of the story, what happened to Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari, he even climbed on the minbar and announced it in front of everyone. He said that I renounced the ideologies of Muhammad Sa'id Kullab, which was the madhab of Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari at one time, just as I threw his shirt down the ground. For Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, returned back to the aqeedah of us-Sunnah. So when we say Ash'a'ira, we're meaning that which is the second stage of Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari before he came back to the Minhaj al-Salaf. So Abul Hasan, or the Ash'a'ira, who's ascribed to Abul Hasan al-Ash'ari in his second stage, if you look to the beginning of what we just said, keep in mind that the Ash'a'ira and the Kullabiyah, they denounced that the Kalam, or the speech of Allah, is connected with His will and His ability. They denounced that. That's why you will find that these 4 points, what we're mentioning now, all goes back to that where they made that mistake in these usool, in these principles here. Number one, we said yesterday, listen to their speech in which they say, for example, that the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is azali abadi. It is eternal and is everlasting. And it's not connected with His will, nor is it connected with His what? His choice or His ability subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that Musa had heard the eternal kalam of Allah. Which we said that is what? Which is batil. We talked about all the evidences and proofs to show that Allah Ta'ala did not speak or address Musa until a certain time, when it happened. And that is part of the ta'rif when we said that the kalam of Allah is hadithatul ahad, that it happens from one time to the next. And all the ayat in which you find that Allah Ta'ala mentions those, what they call dharf zaman, an adverb of time. Any ayah that you find where Allah addresses someone, notice that Allah Ta'ala mentions along with it an adverb. For example, Allah Ta'ala says, يَوْمَ يُنَادِيهِمْ فَيَقُولُ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِي قَالُوا آذَنَّاكَ مَا مِنَّا مِنْ شَهِيدٍ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, on the day when He will call them out. On the day is an adverb of time, meaning at a certain time, which is on the day of resurrection. Meaning it didn't happen yet. Meaning at that time, on that specific time, Allah will address these people who fell into these errors or these sins, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will address them at that particular time. And all those ayahs that you find, that Allah Ta'ala mentions the adverb or those different types of adverbs that indicates a time, shows that it did not happen yet. Based upon the belief of the Ash'a'ira and the Kullabiyah, and also likewise the Maturidiyah and the Ahbash and other than them, this already happened. Allah already spoke to the people on the day of resurrection. It just happened. It already happened in an eternal, everlasting time. That's what they say. That's what the belief of the Ash'a'ira and the Kullabiyah, or the Kullabiyah Ash'a'ira, that's what they believe. That there was a time where Allah Ta'ala did it all at once. So, the addressment of the people on the day of resurrection already happened with them. You understand, everyone? Tayyib, that was from last class. We mentioned this Friday. This is what we mentioned. You guys shouldn't even be surprised. But that's what I said Friday, didn't I? Yep, I touched on it a little bit Wednesday. No, but some people you just gotta read. I told you back when I first started student knowledge, I was the slowest person in the class. I was the slowest. I didn't catch on fast. Trust me, everybody's a friend exceeded me. I was a miskeen, and I still am. But anyway, so we say that on the adverbs of يَوْمَ يُنَادِيهِمْ فَيَقُولَ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِي وَيَوْمَ يُنَادِيهِمْ There's another ayah where Allah Ta'ala says in His book is Surah Tafadal. You need a chair? Tafadal, get a chair. Another ayah where Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَيَوْمَ يُخْزِيهِمْ وَيَقُولَ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِي إِنَّ شُرَكَائِي الَّذِينَ كُنْتُمْ تُشَاقُونَهُم. There's another ayah which is a Surah An-Nahl where Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَيَوْمَ يُخْزِيهِمْ, on the day when Allah humiliate them. فَيَقُولُ أَيْنَ شُرَكَائِي الَّذِينَ كُنْتُمْ تُشَاقُونَهُم. That Allah Ta'ala says in His book that on the day He will humiliate them and He will call out and He will say, where are my partner? Where are those so-called proclaimed partners that you have what? Ascribed to me? Notice that Allah Ta'ala in the ayah used a word. Use a what? An adverb of time. يَوْمَ يُخْزِيهِمْ, on the day He will humiliate them. So it's to show and prove that what? It didn't happen yet. The affair did not take place yet. When that time happens, which is on the day of resurrection, then the humiliation for the kuffar and those who belied the ayat of Allah will take place. Based upon the belief of the Asha'ira, the Maturidiyya, and the Kullabiyya, that already happened. It happened in an eternal, mystical time that nobody knows. You understand? This is what we said Friday. The second point we said, and also the ayah where Allah Ta'ala talked about Musa. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهَا نُودِيَ أَن بُورِكَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ بُورِكَ مَنْ فِي النَّارِ وَمَنْ حَوْلَهَا وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. That's the ayah. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in His book, He says, when Musa came to that place, notice Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, when Musa came, when? Indication of what, everyone? Time. It did not take place, the addressment, when Allah Ta'ala wanted to address Musa, the addressment did not take place until what? Until he came to that specific time and that specific place. Based upon the belief of the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyya and all of them, it already happened. That before the addressment to them, it happened already. You understand? طيب. Also, we mentioned the second point. The second point is that to say that all the ma'na or the meanings of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is what? Is one. And we said that's batil also, based upon the fact that if you say that all the meanings of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala are just one meaning al-khabar wal-istikhbar wal-nawahi wal-awamir, which is the prohibitions, the commands, and even the information of what will take place with the people of paradise and the people of hell and all those other things are one meaning, based upon what the Asha'ira and the Kullabiyya mentioned. And we said that's all what, everyone? Batil. If you're tired, just go lay down. Istalqi, as they say. Istalqi means, hey, I give you another verb. Istalqi means lay down. Or you can say urqud. Urqud, fi sarir. Lay down in bed. Urqud. Raqada yarqudu. Istalqa yastalqi. طيب. So they said that is what? And the second point is what they mentioned and said, what, everyone? He said the second point is that the speech of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is one meaning, which is also batil. We said that if that's the case, then Allah Ta'ala warning people from the hellfire means the same thing as don't drink. Or also, the people warning people from the hellfire means also likewise what? People going to paradise. It also means one meaning. One meaning, which absolutely makes no sense. And it also means that the speech of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and His words are bounded. It also means that the words of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala are bounded. If you say that it happened all at once, all this speech, all this addressment, everything happened all at once, that means His words, what, everyone, ran out. And the words of Allah Ta'ala will never what? Run out. As Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in both those ayahs of Surah Al-Kahf and also Surah Al-Luqman, we said, لو أن ما في الأرض من شجرة أقلام والبحر يمده من بعد 7 أبحر ما نفدت كلمات الله. That's it. إن الله عزيز حكيم. Allah Ta'ala قل لو كان البحر مدادا الحمد لله remember. قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. It's the last ayah, Surah Al-Kahf. The other ayah, which is in Surah Al-Luqman, is the ayah where it says, وَلَوْ أَنَّمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ أقلام والبحر يمده من بعد سبعة أبحر ما نفدت كلمات الله. That the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never run out. So the words of Allah wa ta'ala is not bounded to a certain number whatsoever. Rather, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never will run out. So, based upon that ambiguity, then what, everyone? That is also batil. طيب, the two new points, you guys. The two new points of today. The two new points of today is the third, where the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyya, they say that the Quran, or the speech of Allah, that we have to believe that that which is the Quran that has been descended is hadith makhluq. That it existed after it did not exist, and it is created. But listen to this. That's not only what they say. Listen, they say it's, but it, and we do not say it is from the author or the treatise or the words that Jibreel made up or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made up. Rather, Jibreel, that he took it, we received it. For example, in a manner which Allah created those words that are cut up, which was organized in the Quran, or the fashion that we see as the Quran now. Just listen. And it was recited upon the Prophet ﷺ. He said, however, we do not express this or manifest this except in a mannerism where we're teaching the people. So we don't say it to everyone. There's only a specific time where we will tell them this. Secret. So basically it's to say that the Quran is basically not the speech of Allah. It's an expression of the speech of Allah, which is done inwardly inside of Allah. We already refuted it. Matter of fact, the last part of the lesson that I did yesterday, we refuted this. We refuted this. Alhamdulillah, I actually mentioned some of the refutation already. So we almost finished the last point. First of all, you will find that the Asha'ira do play games in this matter. Number one, in the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, قُلْ إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. They'll say that, as what the mushrikeen say. They said, for example, that it was the speech of who? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayat, and I'm going to ask everyone this. Allah connects the Kalam to Jibreel in one ayat, saying that verily is the statement of an honorable or noble messenger. One ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about Jibreel. Another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about what? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One ayah it says, إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ, which is in Surah At-Takwir. Another ayah it says, وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ كَاهِنٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ تَنزِيلٌ مِّن رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. That refutation is easy. Well, Sheikh Muhammad Aman al-Jami said that you'll find from some people of Batil who will say that it's, the speech of Allah is not the speech of Allah. Rather, it's the Kalam of Jibreel, it was the Kalam of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ayat that if you look inside of the book of Allah, what I just mentioned to you guys, the refutation is in the exact same ayah if you look at it. Remember, take into consideration what I taught you guys over and over again. There's not an ayah in the book of Allah which the people of Batil use for dalil except you can flip it against them, which was the minhaj of Shaykh al-Islam and Ibn al-Qayyim. So notice I said, okay, people of Batil they say, or from their statements they say, it's the statement of Jibreel, or it's the statement of Muhammad based upon the ayah. Verily is the statement of our honorable messenger. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it clear as Jibreel after the ayah, because it says, the one who possesses all great might. So one ayah is speaking about who? Jibreel. Another ayat in Surah Al-Haqqah, which is in the last page, in the last ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is what? It's the statement of a noble, honorable, or it's not a statement of a poet, rather it's a statement of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. طيب, how do we refute this? This is easy, very easy. Number one, if you look in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah wa ta'ala already says in his book that it's a revelation from Rabbul Alameen. Right, everyone? And if you say that the Quran was a message, or was the Kalam of Jibreel, number one, and number one you say first it was from Jibreel, and number two you say it was from Muhammad, then you would say that the ayat in the book of Allah contradict itself, and that's kufr. Number two, now this is the destruction right here. Notice in the ayah, it says it's a statement of a messenger. The word messenger necessitates what? He's carrying a message from somewhere else. Who deliver it in what? Conveyed it to him. So in the same ayah is a refutation. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned messenger. When you say someone is a messenger, meaning he's delivering something from someone else. Except, what's the meaning of messenger? So in the same exact ayah is a what? Refutation. When you say Rasul, what does Rasul mean? What does it mean? It means that I am carrying a message from someone else. Initially, he's the one that's giving me the information to convey it to you. So initially, it's not my statement. It's from someone else before me. So in the same ayat is what, everyone? Refutation. It says Rasul. And I told you guys, if you look, and I told you guys the minhaj of the tafsir in the ayat. Look to Surah Al-Haqqah after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, what does it say? This is revelation for Rabbul Alameen. Allah already destroyed it. After Allah mentioned in all the context of those ayat, it says, Tanzilu min Rabbil Alameen. Revelation for Rabbul Alameen. Khalas, done. That's why you find, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, in the aspects and affairs of Aqidah, you will never, ever, ever, especially in the affairs of Aqidah. And this is a sign that Allah Ta'ala perfected the ayat in the book of Allah and in the authentic Sunnah. That you never find no contradictions in it. Every ayah and hadith can be flipped against every person from al-Batil. Every ayah and hadith. You can flip it on them. Which is a sign to show that every ayah and hadith, especially in the affairs of Aqidah, is all in one sequence, and it is what? It is all haqq. You understand? Jayyid? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same ayah is refuting. You want to say, okay, it's not from Allah, it's from Jibreel, or from alayhi salam, was from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Taib, you idiot. The same ayah is a refutation. It says Rasul. What does Rasul mean? What does messenger mean? Meaning that I'm conveying something from someone else. Someone before me. Or somebody gave me the message to deliver it. You understand, everyone? Taib. And then the ayah, Allah Ta'ala sealed out the whole refutation by saying what? At the end of the ayah, Tanzilu min Rabbil Alameen. Revelation from Rabbul Alameen. Khalas. Taib. So in that aspect, we can refute them. And we say, and this is something I want you to know. This is very important. When the Salaf used to say that the Quran, from Allah it started, There's a reason why the Salaf used to say that. Minhu bada wa ilayhi ya'ud. From Allah it started, and to Him it will return. The reason why the Salaf used to say from Him it started because the Jahmiyyah said that the Quran is initially not from Allah. It's not from Allah. So refutation against the Jahmiyyah, the Salaf came with the statement, from Allah it started. You understand? From Allah it started. Refutation against the reason why they mentioned that statement because it was a refutation against the Jahmiyyah. The Jahmiyyah believe that the Quran did not start with Allah. You understand, everyone? The Quran is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, no doubt. But that same Quran in which the Jibreel had descended to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is likewise also the Quran. That's the Quran also. What we recite is the Kalam of Allah. What we recite, what we read, all of that is the Quran. Or else, if it was not the Quran, then it would not be impermissible for the one who's, for example, in the state of major impurity to what? To not recite. Well, he could recite it based upon the belief of which you'll find Yusuf Estes is upon. Then all of us could just read the Quran when we feel like it, how we feel like it, in the manner we feel like it. Because it's not upon their belief, it's not the speech of Allah. A'udhu billah. ما أشده حمقا. Any rate, you understand, everyone? You understand what I'm saying? If this was the Quran that we are reciting now, was it the speech of Allah upon with Yusuf Estes? Of course, he says that it's not the speech of Allah. It's in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. That's what he said. The original Quran is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. No, you idiot. Of course, it's in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. But also likewise, what we recite in our Masahif, and what we recite and what we have memorized in our hearts is also the what? The Quran. Otherwise, if it wasn't the Quran, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, all the ahkam pertaining to honoring it and giving that consecration it deserves, all of that would be removed. We could put our feet on it. It's not the speech of Allah. Put my feet on it. Throw it on the ground. It's not the speech of Allah. Upon what Yusuf does, you can do what you want with it. You can go to the shower. You can, do what you want. You could be in a state of major impurity. Do what you want with it. Touch it. Do whatever you ever want with it. It's not the kalam of Allah. You understand? طيب. Upon that we say the Quran is the speech of Allah. In the Lawh al-Mahfuz. And from Allah it initially started. And like we said, the reason why the Salaf said that in refutation against the Jahmiyyah who said that the Quran did not start with Allah. It did not start from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understand that point, everyone? Keep that. طيب. We refuted the notion to say that the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inward speech. We finished that. That, for example, the belief of the Asha'ir and the Maturidiyyah is that the speech of Allah is speech that's done inwardly and inside oneself. And we said yesterday that the kalam that's done in yourself is not kalam. Speech that's in yourself is not kalam. Meaning your thoughts, what comes in your heart or what you think of, that's not kalam. And we said that in order to sum up the whole initial affair, what we spoke about, or the issue what we spoke about yesterday, we said that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentioned said, or we mentioned the Sahibu Lum'at al-I'tiqad, which is the Imam al-Maqdisi, what he mentioned in his book, and said that we used against the Asha'ira his own methodology. We said to him, the Ash'ari clearly said to him, what everyone? Assalamu alaikum. Gave him salams. And the Imam or Sahibu Lum'at al-I'tiqad said to him, what everyone? He didn't say anything to him. He said, why I give you salams? What's wrong with you? He said, but based upon your belief, I did it in myself. I did it in myself, and that's kalam. To you, it's kalam. And you have to utter words with words and letters. Based upon your idiotic i'tiqad, your belief,
That I can do it in myself, and that suffices. And I think that everyone, if they was to apply this, you would show that this leads to chaos. If everyone applied this type of rhetoric and this type of aqidah that's corrupt, just apply it in your daily life with your wife and your kids and everyone. To say did you do it? Did you confess? And your son, you're talking to your son and he's quiet. Dad, I thought kalam that could be done in myself. Huh? You understand what I'm saying, everyone? No. Upon the belief of the Sha'ira, I don't have to say anything. I did it in myself. If everyone did it and applied this type of nonsense in their daily lives, imagine what it would lead to. You understand, everyone? So we do not say that the speech of Allah Ta'ala is what? Kalam nafsi. Nor do we say there's a wasita, as we refuted yesterday. The Asha'ira basically are saying, and the Maturidiyya, and the Kullabiyya, and the Abdullah bin Ahbash, and the Habashis, and all of them, the Maturidiyya, they're basically saying there's a wasita. There's a middleman between us and the speech of Allah. There's a middle person. The kalam of Allah that we read and we recite and we memorize is not the speech of Allah. It's basically an expression of the speech of Allah. It's an expression. We said the hadith that nullifies that is when Imaam Ahmad refuted the Jahmiyyah in that tremendous book or that treatise which is called al-Jahmiyyah, where he said clearly to the Jahmiyyah, he said, what about the hadith of Adi ibn Abi Hatim, where Allah Ta'ala says, on the day of resurrection, he says that Allah Ta'ala, so he says, سَيُكَلِّمُكُمْ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ تَرْجُمَانِ, that he will have not between him and Allah Ta'ala when he initiates the recompense for everyone and their account and their accountability for all they've done in this dunya. He says, you will not have any middleman, which is the what? Which is the translation. That hadith, Imam Ahmad used that for a reason, to let us know that the speech that we're going to hear is not going to be what? Some expression or some type of middle thing that is what? Expressing the actual inward speech of Allah. Because based upon the Prophet ﷺ had also mentioned and said that what? There's not going to be any what? Wasita. There's not going to be something that's in the middle, so-called communicating the inward speech to Allah on the day of resurrection. You understand, everyone? طيب. We also said the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I'm going to suffice by this and we'll go to the last point and we'll stop. Because this is the last point and then after that I'm done. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّ هَذَا الصَّلَاةَ لَا يُصْلُحُ فِيهَا شَيْءٌ مِّن كَلَامِ النَّاسِ. As he wanted the Sahabi was speaking, this is before the ayah where Allah Ta'ala had brought the hukum that it's impermissible to speak during the salah. One of the Sahabi was speaking in the salah. They used to speak because they didn't know the ruling in regards to it, because it didn't reveal it yet until Allah Ta'ala revealed the ayah, which is the Surah Al-Isra, the last ayah, or the ayah before the last ayah. Allah is in the last part of the ayah. Now it's either the last ayah or the ayah before the last ayah. وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَبَتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا. Anybody can remember the ayah? Then I have the last part of the ayah. وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَبَتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا. I got the last part of the ayah and I need the first part. But anyway, it's the last ayah of Surah Al-Isra. No, to go back to it. It goes before it. Al-Husna. أحسنت. ولا تجهر بصلاتك ولا تخافت بها وابتغ بين ذلك سبيلا. That's the ayah. Allah Ta'ala have mentioned قل ادعوا الله أو ادعوا الرحمن أيا ما تدعوا فله الأسماء الحسنى ولا تجهر بصلاتك ولا تخافت بها وابتغ بين ذلك سبيلا. I think that's the other ayah. It's another affair. But anyway, whether it's not is that, and I think I'm wrong. I'm wrong in that one. That's something else. I'm wrong. The ayah where Allah Ta'ala spoke about is another ayah. It's not that one. But anyway, one of the Sahabi was speaking during the Salah, and Allah Ta'ala revealed the ayah, and Allah, Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, this Salah, it is not appropriate that one speak in it for anything from the kalam of the people. which is to show that what? If one was to speak or one was to have thoughts in his mind based upon the belief of the Asha'ira and Kullabiyya, your salat would be batil. طيب. Last point we finish. No, it's Surah Al-Isra. Salah batil if you just speak. If you think a thought, your salah will be batil. طيب. Last point, المسألة الرابعة إنكاره أن يكون كلام الله بحرف الصوت. He said that their denial that the speech of Allah is done by a voice and letters. Because they say that the voices is أعراض حادثة مشروط لحدوثها حدوث بعضها بانقضاء الآخر. They said that the voices of Allah, he said that they're أعراض حادثة. He said that the أعراض, that they came into existence after they didn't exist. He says, and it's a prerequisite in it for something that happens after it didn't exist, huduth. That it has to be what? Huduth, created. In which, if one comes after the next, that one type of speech, if it follows another, then it what? It's created. طيب. Based upon this, I'll break it down. Just know that Shaykh al-Islam has said, this is just to sum up everything. Once I say this, you guys should understand. Everything that's created, as I told you guys a couple of months ago, everything that's created is hadith. Everything that's created happened from one time to the next. Or it came into existence after it didn't exist. Everything created. Right, everyone? Everything that's makhluq is hadith. But not everything that's hadith is makhluq. Shaykh al-Islam even mentioned this in his refutation against the Asha'ira and his notion. He said that everything that's makhluq is hadith. Everything that's created happened from one time to the next, or existed after it didn't exist. And then it came at a specific time where it was created and it came into existence. Right, everyone? طيب. But not everything that happens from one time to the next is what? Created. Not everything that happens from one time to the next is what? Created. For verily the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in which He subhanahu wa ta'ala described His kalam of having huduth. Allah ta'ala described it. Meaning, at one time, it did not come into play until that specific time. And it does not mean that it was what? Created. Everything that's makhluq is hadith, but not everything hadith is makhluq. Just the last point. Which one? Which ayat is it? What is the ayat again?
So when the Quran is recited, listen to it.
أنصتوا لعلكم تتفكرون.
So that you may receive mercy and it says,
لعلكم ترحمون.
also a congregation favorite of man with love.
That's the ayat. This Surah Al-A'raf, what is it? What's the number? 204. The last part, and then we'll finish, inshallah. Where's that? Oh, that's the Wajh al-Rabi'. That's long. Alhamdulillah, I gave you guys the gist. That's a long. We've been here for 10 days. Where's the last part? Here it is. Alhamdulillah. Jayid. Just give me one second. Jayid. That the denial of them saying that the speech of Allah is what? Is done with the letters and a voice. Right, everyone? And they declare all the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ of Allah Ta'ala speaking, saying that is what? That all of them are da'if. Know that for sure that all of the reason why they deny this is based upon what we just mentioned prior. They say that they fell into what? Tashbih. They fell into resemblance. Saying that what? That in order to speak with words and letters, you have to have a mouth, lips, veins, to the end of it. Al-Imam al-Sijzi have refuted the Asha'ira on a notion. He says, فَإِنْ قَالُوا التَّعَاقُبْ يَدْخُلُهَا وَكُلُّ ما تأخر عن ما سبقه محدث فقال رحمه الله اتفقت العلماء على أن الله يتولى الحساب بين خلقه يوم القيامة في حالة واحدة وعند كل واحد منهم أن المخاطب في الحال وهو وحده وهذا خلاف التعاقب. الله أكبر. Wow. طيب. Al-Imam al-Sijzi have refuted the Asha'ira. For number one, they say that the Kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, come on brothers, we would almost finish. That the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the lawazim, what the creation needs to have it, then likewise the creator what? Has to have those same type of lawazim of the creation, those things that the creation needs. We refuted that, we mentioned that numerous times. There's another notion that the Asha'ira mention and say that in قالوا التعاقب يدخلها وكل ما تأخر عن ما سبقه محدث. I don't think you guys remember. وثبت التعاقل لم يضرنا لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لما خرج من باب الصفا نبدأ بما بدأ الله به to the end of the ayah. وقد رد على الأشاعرة كذلك ابن حنبل بوجوه أخرى ورد عليهم ابن تيمية ردا مفحما وألزمهم بالتناقض في مذهبهم في التسعينية. I don't have the time to get into all the different types of refutations. We'll just suffice with one. He said that on the day of resurrection, when Allah Ta'ala will take on the recompense of everyone between the creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do it. He will do it in a manner that is all at one time. He will do it with everyone. He will do it with everyone. And when every recompense, and when it takes place, Allah Ta'ala, for everyone from amongst the people who Allah is dressing, in that same what? In that same type of circumstance, the same situation, at the same time, he said that it would not be what they call a ta'aqub, meaning that words had to be done one after another. Basically, what they're saying is, if a person has kalam in his speech in the order, basically they're trying to flee away from what they so-called trying to flee away from, they keep falling into it, which is resemblance. Another instance, they say that, for example, the speech of an individual necessitates that his speech, when he speaks, it's done in arrangement of an order. And he cannot address certain different people, other different people, all at once. So that means that it's created. You have to resemble the creation and do something like that. So in that instance here, if it's created, we just deny it. It's not done with any what? Words or any what? Voices. The Imam Sijzi in his tremendous book, Al-Wa'il, he refuted them by saying, on the day of resurrection, Allah Ta'ala will take on the recompense of all the different people, of all different types and all different languages and all different types, all at once. Addressing different people in different what?
in different ways, in different what? Different hisab, different what? Different accounts. So the fact that you're saying ta'aqub, that there has to be an order where speech is all denied, because on the day of resurrection, this is what? This will not take place. Allah Ta'ala is not like the creation where we have to be addressing one individual one at a time, where his speeches are done in order, and it has to be one individual, one at the same time. You still, what you're trying to flee away from, you keep falling into it. Allah is not like the human being. Allah is not like us. Allah Ta'ala sees everything. Like we talked about before, and I told the brothers this on many occasions. You cannot imagine something that can what? See everything all at once. That's something that's beyond your mind. It's on your capacity. You can't imagine something that can hear all at once. You can't imagine something that has knowledge of everything all at once. And He knows more about you than you knew about your own self. Also, likewise, the same thing with the speech of Allah. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. It's the same thing. We talked about this maybe a week ago. All the sifat of Allah Tabaraka wa ta'ala, the kayfiyah is not like the what? It's not like the creation. Allah's speech is not like the speech of what? The creation. Even though generally we affirm the kalam, the speech of Allah. But the kayfiyah of how the speech of Allah is, no one knows it. Notice Imam As-Sijzi said on the day of resurrection. Listen to what he says. He says, يَتَوَلَّ الْحِسَابَ بَيْنَ خَلْقِهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فِي حَالَ وَاحِدَةٍ. Allah will take the recompense of all the creation all at once, one state. Millions and millions of people. Allah is going to speak to every single individual. All the millions of people have existed all through earth. Allah is going to bring them all into recompense. And the speech that He's going to use in order to give a recount to one individual, another individual. Is it like the human being of creation? Can anybody do that? And He's going to know the state of every single person that He created, every single state of everything they did, and get dressed with the speech that what? That's appropriate for that particular individual and his how and his circumstance. So that negates what they call what? A ta'aqub. That there has to be a type of order. That's negated with Allah. You understand, everyone? Notice that their asl of their dalala all falls. When they try to flee away from it, they keep running back into the hole. You understand, everyone? They're saying that the speech of Allah has to have tongue and lips. What you just do is sha'ira. You just fell into tashbih. That's the reason why you fell into this misguidance. Now you're saying that it has to be, just if it's systematic in order in speech, then that also needs is created. Do you still keep falling into what? Tashbih. There's no getting around it. طيب. Shaykh al-Islam in his book Tis'iniyah came with more refutations than this. But we just suffice with that aspect because I don't want to keep getting into too many. That's the last thing. For the last point. And we'll just suffice with that. There's more than that. But inshallah, bidillah, we'll just suffice by those 4 points. Now, wait. Guys, just getting up. No, I'm going to make sure that you guys understood this. Don't just rush. We're still part of the class. So the first point was what, everyone? The first point was that Allah spoke to Musa eternally, in the eternal speech. We said that's Balta. Number 2, it was all one meaning. Number 3, they're saying basically it's the speech of Allah is not the actual speech. It's like a expression, or it's a translation. Also, fourthly, they say that what? The speech of Allah is not done with words and a voice. And we said that's all what? Oh, that's batil. If you even look into the addressment and what took place between Allah and Musa, Musa understood what? There was a voice and there were letters, and with the addressment that took place necessitated that there were what? Things that Musa understood from his Lord. For example, Musa said to Allah to Musa, "Alqi asak." Ya Musa, alqi asak. Musa, throw down your stick. What did Musa do? He threw the stick down. And Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَا بِتِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى. What's in your right hand, Musa? هِيَ عَصَايَ أَتَوَكَّوَ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى. He said, it's my stick. He said, I rely on it. He says, I also graze at the pasture with my sheep or my flock. And he says, I have other needs for it. Part of what he said, to beat down the bushes and things like that. Notice that, but the point of the matter is what, everyone? Musa understood there was letters, there was addressment, there was letters clear. Any person with a sound intellect knows that there was, Musa understood, heard a voice with letters, words, he clearly understood. And there was an addressment with his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, everyone? And you will hear all the different types of stories of the prophets. There clearly says that Allah Ta'ala used words that was understood, and all the prophets understood it in a manner in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, had admonished Nuh, where Allah Ta'ala said to Nuh, when he told him to save his son, and he said that he's not from you, he's not with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Nuh, Inni a'iduka an takuna min al-jahili. Verily, I exhort you that you be from those who are ignorant. And Nuh had addressed him back. Knew that Allah Ta'ala admonished him. Ya Rabbi, inni a'udhu bika an as'alaka ma laysa li bihi ilm. Wa in lam taghfir li wa tarhamni, akum min al-khasirin. Oh my Lord, I seek refuge in you and ask you something I have no knowledge of. If you don't have mercy upon me, forgive me, I'll be from the losers. All that's what to show that there was a what? There was a conversation, there was addressment. Clear with letters and words. That took place. And that all of us will be addressed on the day of resurrection, and none of us will need a what? A translator. We'll understand words, voice, letters, everything will be clear. There will not be no type of what? Any type of ambiguous matters or something that's real. Confusing when everybody's hisab and recompense is laid out in front of them. Everybody's going to know, and Allah is going to make it clear to you what you did on this day, and what was done at this time, and what was done here, what was done there, what was done here, what you did here, what you did here, to the end of it, and it's going to be done clearly with words and the voice and letters, for you to not have any type of misunderstanding with what any of us did and did not do. You just sit by the door. Hey, any questions? Hold on. He said that the speech of Allah has what they call a ta'aqub. A ta'aqub is like something that happens one after another, like it's in a sequence. Tafadal. He said he refuted that because he said that on the day of Abu Khalil. He said on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He takes on the recompense on the day of resurrection, He said He's going to reckon into account of all the different nations, all at once. Millions of people. Because every individual is going to have their recompense. Every individual. Nobody's an exception. He said that's batil. To use this as now a hujjah or argument to show that Allah doesn't speak with letters and words is batil. Why is it batil? He said because on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take on the hisab of all people. All at once. And He said He will address every single individual for what his circumstance and his state is. Right? So there's not going to be any type of sequence for all millions of people when Allah is going to recompense to every individual person, for every situation is different, and the words is going to be addressed to everyone is going to be certainly different, and their recompense is going to be different to all those people. So that sequence you say that there has to be one sequence directed towards one individual is batil. تفضل تفضل عليك السلام ورحمة الله.
The statement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speak has one meaning. Basically implies that a correct assessment of the deviant?
That's one of the points. That's just one of them. No, tafadhal, Abdullah. I'm sorry. I don't know why. What they're trying to flee away from is just the Ash'ari do not totally deny Kalam. They just play games with it. I told you the reason why they fall into these mistakes, what they're so-called trying to do, they're trying to think they're glorifying Allah. In actuality, they're saying their glorification, their idea of glorification of Allah is denying what He affirms for Himself. So what they so-called try to flee away from, they fall into it. They're saying speech necessitates lips, tongue, mouth, teeth, everything. What did they fall into? Tashbih. So what they're trying to flee away from, they keep falling into it. So that's the reason why we said in the previous lessons, we said over and over, I've seen this probably 1,000 times. I said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created things that do not have tongue and mouths and they can speak. They don't have a tongue, a mouth, blood, veins, nothing. That can speak. Rocks. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, rocks were speaking. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, food was speaking. Food was making tasbih. Who does anyone know that food can make tasbih? No one. Who would think that food would be able to speak? Food. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, food made tasbih. The hadith is in the Sahihain, Bukhari and Muslim. So, if these are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created that can have the characteristic of speech, and it doesn't need veins or lips or jaws, why can't you affirm that for Rabbul Alameen? Just like they said, for example, that you saying that Allah Ta'ala is above the heavens, that Allah Ta'ala is always above, even at the time when He descends to the lowest heaven. Every night, He's still above. We say yes. You say, how is that? How can you affirm that Allah can descend and still be above at the same time? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created things that are created, that can be attached to something and still be somewhere else. How? With the hadith or the ayat, where Allah ta'ala talks about the soul of the individual. When you're asleep, your soul is still connected to your body. While you are sleeping, Allah ta'ala has said in His book that your soul leaves your body and it roams. It roams around, it goes up and it roams around. Notice that your soul at the same time is still connected with your body, even though it left your body and is roaming around. What's the proof of that? The proof of that is in the book of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha fayursilu allati qada alayha al-maut fayursilu al-ukhra ila ajal musamma. Allah ta'ala says He takes the souls, and when they go to sleep, as a certain type of what? A certain type of death. It's not the major death. It's a minor type death. Allah takes those souls, يَتَوَفَّى الْأَنفُسَ حِينَ مَوْتِهَا. Notice Allah ta'ala describes الَّتِي لَمْ تَمُتْ فِي مَنَامِهَا, and some that did not die in its sleep. فَيُرْسِلُ الَّتِي قَضَى عَلَيْهَا الْمَوْتِ. He sends back the souls, He sends them back to their bodies, which has not been prescribed upon them death yet, to an appointed time. So Allah Ta'ala is saying that some of the souls, He keeps them. Meaning, and that's the people that die in their sleep. Some people's souls are sent back to their what? Bodies when they wake up. Those ayat, if you look in the tafsir with Ibn Kathir and Imam al-Baghawi and other than that mentioned, they saying that the soul goes up and leaves the body. It goes up. And it goes back inside the body. Because if it was to leave the body totally, you're dead. Notice Allah Ta'ala created what they call a mahiyya, a type of creation. Something created that can be in your body and at the same time it left. But it's still some type of way, it's still what? Attached to you, it's still with you. One of the hujjaj and the proofs is to show this is that if you believe this, that Allah could create something that can do this magnitude to this point, something amazing like this, how can you find it far off that Rabbul Alameen can descend and still be above at the same time? That's a whole different level. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends, He's above. Allah, when He comes on the day of resurrection, He'll still be above. He's always above subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is always above. He will always be above. On the day of resurrection, He will always be above subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it shows, like we said, power, magnificence, sublimity. It shows power, might, domination. The one being supreme. And all the narrations points towards that. The Prophet ﷺ prostrating under the arsh. The Prophet ﷺ, when he comes, Allah Ta'ala will prostrate. He will prostrate under the arsh and be under the arsh for a long time. And then he will raise his head. The Prophet ﷺ will raise his head. All those things is to show what? Even on the day of resurrection, Allah is still going to be above the people. He's still going to be above. Always. It's going to be the arsh. The arsh. And then above it is al-Rahman. Of all those narrations that said that Musa will be carrying the arsh, some of the legs of the arsh, and also the malaika. Some of the angels will also be carrying the arsh. Will also be carrying the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is above the arsh. Tafadal. Any other? Tafadal. Nobody knows how it is. How it is. Nobody knows the kayfiyah of the kalam of Allah. Nobody knows the kayfiyah. That's all His sifat. That principle goes for all His sifat. No one knows the kayfiyah. We affirm the kayfiyah, but we don't know how the kayfiyah is. Any other question? To say how it is bid'ah. And it's also kufr. If you say how the speech of Allah is, you fell into tashbih. There's no way you could say how something is except through three ways, as Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions. He says either you've seen it, number one. Number one, you either seen it, so you know how it looks. Or number two, you either seen something similar to it. So number one is negated. None of us have never seen Allah. Number two, something similar to it. That's batil, because laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing is similar to Him. Or three, someone who was reliable, trustworthy, told you how it looked. That's also negated. Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions all those three things. So that's the only way you can know how something is or how it is. In regards to Allah, all those three things are negated. You never seen it, never seen things similar to it, nor no one has told you how the kayfiyah of the sifat of Allah Ta'ala, because you will find there's no hadith of the Prophet ﷺ informing us of the kayfiyah of the sifat of Allah. Right? Any other last questions? Tafadhal. Anytime if you say, you know the kayfiyah of something, You saying how it is. You fell into tashbih. It's just kufr. Yeah, tell him, sorry. Say it again. Allahu A'lam. I don't know the answer to that. Allahu A'lam. What's that? Funny. Last question. Anybody? Any other questions? طيب هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. الرحمن الرحيم.